Miguel Ramirez never expected his life to change in a single night. But when he stumbled upon a mysterious envelope on his late-night janitorial shift, everything he thought he knew about luck, opportunity, and fate was turned upside down. But before we get into this unbelievable story, ask yourself, what would you do if you found $100,000 in cash with nothing but a cryptic note attached? Think about it as you hit that subscribe button and turn on notifications, because this is one story you won't want to miss. It was just another shift at the towering corporate skyscraper Miguel had been cleaning for years. The halls were empty, the air smelled of fresh disinfectant, and the only sounds were the distant hum of the city outside. But as he stepped into the executive boardroom, he noticed something unusual. A thick white envelope sitting alone on the glass conference table. Curious, he hesitated before picking it up. It was heavier than he expected. He peeled it open and nearly dropped it. Inside was a stack of crisp $100 bills, more money than he had ever seen in his life. Nestled between the cash was a single folded note, handwritten in neat script. "Are you ready to change your life?" Miguel's hands trembled. His first instinct was disbelief. This had to be a mistake. A forgotten envelope from some executive. A prank. A setup. He looked around, scanning the corners of the room for security cameras. But nothing seemed out of the ordinary. The skyscraper was silent. Empty. His heart pounded as he considered his options. He could take the money. No one would know. No one would even ask. But something about the note made him hesitate. The words felt deliberate, intentional. And then, tucked inside the envelope, he found a sleek black business card with a single phone number embossed in gold. No name, no company, just a number. Miguel swallowed hard. Every logical part of his brain screamed at him to walk away, pretend he never saw it. But another part of him, the part that had spent years dreaming of something more, was curious. Taking a deep breath, he pulled out his phone and dialed. A few rings. Then, a voice. Calm. Measured. "You made the right choice. Meet me tomorrow at 10 a.m. Penthouse suite. Don't be late." The line went dead. Miguel stared at his phone, his mind racing. Who was this? What was this? And why him? He knew one thing for sure. His life would never be the same after tomorrow. So now, let's turn it over to you. Would you have taken the money and walked away? Or would you have called the number, risking the unknown? Drop your answer in the comments. And stay tuned, because what happens next is even crazier. Miguel barely slept that night. The envelope, the money, the cryptic message. It played on a loop in his mind. Was this a setup? A hidden camera prank? Or was this the kind of opportunity that only comes once in a lifetime? By morning, he had made up his mind. He was going. At exactly 10 a.m., Miguel stood outside the penthouse suite, his palms sweating. The elevator doors opened to reveal a sleek, minimalist office with floor-to-ceiling windows overlooking the city. The air smelled of expensive coffee and success. A woman in a tailored suit greeted him with a knowing smile and led him inside. And then, there he was. Jeff Bezos. Sitting casually behind a massive oak desk, sipping coffee like this was just another meeting. Miguel's stomach twisted. This had to be a mistake. Why would one of the richest men in the world care about a janitor? But before he could say a word, Bezos placed the envelope on the desk between them. "Not many people would have called," Bezos said, studying him. "Why did you?" Miguel swallowed hard. He thought about lying, saying something clever, but instead, he told the truth. "Because I need a change. I want something more. But I don't know how to get there." A pause. Then, Bezos nodded. "Good answer." He leaned forward. "I left that envelope as a test. Money isn't the gift. The decision is. You could have taken it and disappeared. No one would have known. But you didn't. That tells me you're ready for something bigger. Miguel's breath caught. What does that mean? Bezos slid another envelope across the desk. This one wasn't filled with money. It was something more valuable. An offer. You have two choices, Bezos continued. You can take the $100,000 and walk away, no strings attached. Or you can take this envelope, which contains an opportunity to work directly under me for a year, learn, grow, and build something that could change your life forever. Miguel stared at the envelope, his heart pounding. The safe choice, take the money and walk away. But the other option, that was terrifying. That was unknown. That was risk. So now, let's turn this to you. If you were sitting in Miguel's chair, staring down at a decision that could alter your life, what would you choose? Drop your answer in the comments below. And if you think this story is wild so far, just wait, because what happens next is even crazier. Miguel's fingers hovered over the envelope, his heartbeat drumming in his ears. The weight of the moment pressed down on him. One choice meant immediate relief, $100,000, no strings attached. The other, a risk, a year of uncertainty, of working under one of the most demanding and brilliant minds in the world, a chance to rewrite his future. He exhaled slowly and picked up the second envelope. Bezos smirked, as if he already knew Miguel's decision. Good choice, he said, standing up. But don't think for a second, this will be easy. You wanted more. You're about to find out what more really means. Miguel barely had time to process what had just happened before Bezos' assistant whisked him into a private elevator. The doors slid shut, and suddenly, Miguel was descending, not up to some executive office, but down into the depths of the building. When the doors reopened, he found himself in a massive, buzzing workspace, filled with people moving at lightning speed. Monitors flashing stock prices, logistics, product launches. It was chaos. And yet, an organized one. Welcome to the machine, the assistant said, gesturing at the floor. This is where things really happen. You start now. Before he could ask any questions, a man in a headset shoved a tablet into his hands. You're shadowing me today. Keep up. And just like that, Miguel was thrown into the fire. He followed at a breathless pace, trying to absorb everything. The logistics of global shipments, supply chain optimization, customer experience algorithms. It was a world he had never seen before, one that moved at a speed he hadn't even known existed. His head spun, but he refused to quit. By the end of the day, he was exhausted, his brain overloaded with information. But as he collapsed into a chair in a break room, something unexpected happened. Bezos walked in. Still here? Bezos asked, grabbing a bottle of water from the fridge. That's a good sign. Miguel straightened. I don't want to waste this opportunity. Bezos studied him for a moment, then nodded. Let me tell you something about success. Everyone wants it, but very few are willing to suffer for it. Real success isn't about the money. It's about how much discomfort you can handle. How many times you're willing to be wrong until you're right. Can you handle that? Miguel swallowed, the weight of those words settling deep inside him. I don't know, he admitted, but I want to try. Bezos chuckled. That's a start. Be here tomorrow, 4 a.m., and don't be late. And just like that, Miguel's world changed. The janitor was gone. The student had begun. But here's the real question. If you had the chance to work under one of the world's most powerful minds, knowing it would push you beyond your limits, would you take it? Or would you take the safe money and walk away? Drop your answer in the comments below. And don't go anywhere, because what happens next will shock you. Miguel's alarm blared at 3 a.m. He barely got any sleep, his mind racing with everything he had seen the day before. But as tired as he was, he knew one thing. He couldn't be late. Not for this. By 3:45 a.m., he was already at the building, standing outside the entrance, the city still dark around him. The doors were locked. No one was there. For a brief second, doubt crept in. Had this all been a test? Was he supposed to wait, or should he knock? At exactly 3:59 a.m., the doors buzzed open. Miguel stepped inside, and to his surprise, Jeff Bezos was already there, standing in the lobby, sipping a coffee like it was just another morning. "You're early," Bezos noted, checking his watch. "Good. You're already ahead of most people. Let's go." Miguel followed him into an empty conference room. The city lights stretched far below them, a reminder of just how high up they were, both literally and figuratively. Bezos sat down, motioning for Miguel to do the same. "Most people think success is about intelligence or talent," Bezos started. "It's not. It's about decisions. Tiny ones, made over and over again. People don't fail because they make bad choices once. They fail because they choose comfort over challenge. Every single day, without realizing it." Miguel leaned forward, trying to absorb every word. "You took the hard choice," Bezos continued. "Now let's see if you can keep doing that." A folder slid across the table. Miguel hesitated before opening it. Inside were 10 real business problems Amazon was facing. Logistics issues, customer complaints, market expansion strategies, numbers, reports, projections, things that just 2 days ago were beyond anything he had ever imagined dealing with. "Pick one," Bezos said. "And by the end of today, bring me a solution." Miguel's pulse spiked. "Me? I don't know anything about. Figure it out." Bezos stood. "You have 10 hours. And with that, he walked out, leaving Miguel staring at a challenge far bigger than anything he had ever faced. He skimmed the reports, his brain screaming that he wasn't qualified. But then, he caught himself. Bezos didn't expect him to know everything. He expected him to think, to try, to adapt. He skimmed the reports, his brain screaming that he wasn't qualified. But then, he caught himself. Bezos didn't expect him to know everything. He expected him to think, to try, to adapt. By noon, he was buried in research, making calls, tracking shipments, asking employees in fulfillment centers for insights. He ran on instinct, breaking the problem into steps, seeing patterns where others might not. He wasn't the smartest guy in the room, but he knew how to hustle. And right now, that was all that mattered. At 7 p.m. sharp, Miguel walked back into Bezos' office, hands slightly shaky as he placed his report on the desk. Bezos didn't say a word. He just flipped through the pages, nodding occasionally, his expression unreadable. Minutes stretched into eternity. Finally, he set the report down. "Not bad," he said. "Your logic is sound. Your solution is scalable. And most importantly, you didn't freeze under pressure." Miguel let out a breath he didn't realize he had been holding. He had done it. He had survived day one. Bezos leaned back, watching him. "Come back tomorrow, 3 a.m. Let's see if you're still hungry." And just like that, Miguel knew this wasn't just a test. This was a transformation. But now, here's the real question. If you were in Miguel's position, could you handle the pressure? Would you keep showing up at 3 a.m., knowing that failure wasn't an option? Drop your answer in the comments below. And stay tuned, because what happens next will push him to his absolute limit. Miguel's body screamed for rest, but his mind was electrified. He had survived his first day in Jeff Bezos' world, but there was no time to celebrate. If he had learned anything, it was that showing up once wasn't enough. Success wasn't about one great moment. It was about proving yourself over and over again. By the time his alarm went off at 2:30 a.m., he was already awake, staring at the ceiling, replaying Bezos' words in his head. "Let's see if you're still hungry." He wasn't just hungry. He was starving. At exactly 3 a.m., he stepped into the building. The lobby was empty, silent, except for the faint hum of security monitors. Miguel swiped his temporary badge and rode the elevator up to the top floor, his stomach twisting in knots. He had no idea what to expect today, only that it would be harder than yesterday. As soon as the doors opened, he was met with a thick stack of papers dropped into his hands. Bezos' assistant, a woman named Donna, gave him a quick glance. "Today's a different kind of challenge," she said, leading him down the hall. "Bezos wants you to learn one thing. Decisions create momentum. Indecision kills it." Miguel barely had time to respond before she stopped at a large conference room. Inside, 5 high-level Amazon executives sat around a polished table, deep in conversation. A screen at the front displayed a projection of financial data, maps, and warehouse statistics. Miguel swallowed hard. This wasn't just a test. This was real. Dana turned to him. "You have 5 minutes to look through those papers. Then you'll be expected to contribute to the discussion. Welcome to the deep end." Miguel's brain froze. "Wait, what? I'm supposed to?" "4 minutes now," she interrupted before stepping aside. His hands shook as he flipped through the papers. Something about inventory delays, shipment logistics, fulfillment centers overseas. It was too much, too fast. His heart pounded. This wasn't just Bezos testing him. These were real Amazon executives handling real problems. He was an outsider, a janitor just days ago. What could he possibly say that wouldn't make him look like an idiot? He wanted to run, wanted to come up with an excuse, and leave before he embarrassed himself. But then he remembered why he was here. He had taken the risk. He had chosen the harder path. And that meant he had to step up. Right now. The meeting started. The executives spoke in rapid-fire sentences, throwing out numbers and strategies Miguel barely understood. He gripped the papers tighter, trying to keep up. Then it happened. A warehouse director brought up a shipping bottleneck that was costing the company millions. They were discussing complicated solutions, rerouting shipments, adjusting software, increasing manpower. Miguel's stomach twisted. They were missing something. Before he could stop himself, he spoke. What if it's not a manpower issue? What if it's a loading pattern issue? The room fell silent. Every executive turned to look at him. Miguel's throat went dry. He had said it without thinking, but now he had to back it up. He swallowed hard and pointed to a section of the report. "Here, this warehouse. The bottlenecks only happen at specific times. What if the way trucks are being loaded is the problem? If we adjust loading sequences instead of just adding more workers, it could clear up the delays faster and cheaper." Silence. Then one of the executives actually nodded. Another scratched his chin, glancing at the numbers. "That might actually work," one muttered. Another chimed in. "We've been focusing on throughput but not on load sequence optimization. We need to test this." Miguel felt lightheaded. Did that just happen? Did they actually take his idea seriously? Then, the voice that mattered most cut through the room. "Good catch. Let's run the data and test it." Miguel turned. Bezos had walked in. His stomach dropped. How long had he been there? Had he seen everything? Bezos didn't smile, didn't give him an easy out. He just looked at Miguel, assessing. "Not bad," Bezos finally said. "But next time, don't wait. Say it the second you see it. Hesitation costs money." Miguel nodded, his heart still racing. Bezos turned to the executives. "Find out if he's right. If he is, fix it. If not, I want to know why." The meeting ended. The executives filed out, still murmuring about load sequencing. Miguel stood frozen, the weight of what had just happened settling into his bones. Dana smirked as she walked past him. "Told you, decisions create momentum." Miguel exhaled, realizing he had just survived another day in Bezos' world. But it wasn't enough. He didn't just want to survive anymore. He wanted to win. Now, let me ask you, if you were in Miguel's position, would you have spoken up? Or would you have stayed silent, too afraid of being wrong? Drop your answer in the comments below. And trust me, you're gonna want to stick around. Because what happens next? It's even bigger. Miguel had just made his first real impact. His idea wasn't just heard. It was being tested. But in Bezos' world, one win didn't mean anything. The real challenge was proving it wasn't luck. The next morning, he arrived before 3 a.m., running on adrenaline and a determination he hadn't felt in years. When he stepped into the building, Dana was waiting. "Bezos wants you upstairs," she said, leading him down a hallway he hadn't been to before. "You're getting another test." This time, he entered a room filled with analysts, staring at screens flashing real-time data, sales reports, logistics breakdowns, and global supply chain updates. Bezos stood at the front, arms crossed, waiting. "Your idea from yesterday is being tested right now. But let's see if you can handle something bigger," Bezos said, gesturing toward the screens. "We're facing a serious issue. One of our major fulfillment centers in Texas is about to miss a deadline on thousands of orders. The media loves to jump on these failures. You have 30 minutes to come up with a solution. If you can't, walk away now." Miguel's stomach twisted, but he stayed rooted in place. "Where's the main bottleneck?" he asked, his voice steady. One of the analysts pulled up a screen showing shipment delays. "The orders are packed, but trucks aren't leaving on time. Local traffic and a shortage of available drivers are causing backups." Miguel's mind raced. The problem wasn't inside the warehouse, it was outside. He scanned the data, then turned to Bezos. "What if we partner with rideshare services? They have thousands of available drivers. We geo-target nearby ones with incentives to pick up smaller deliveries and drop them within a 50-mile radius. That clears congestion and keeps the big trucks focused on long hauls." Silence. Then one of the analysts muttered, "That might actually work." Bezos raised an eyebrow, then nodded. "Make the calls. Test it now." Within an hour, the plan was in motion. Rideshare drivers were being onboarded, local deliveries were getting picked up, and the backlog was shrinking. Miguel barely had time to process it before Bezos turned to him. "Good instincts," he said. "But instincts aren't enough. Go to Texas. See the problem firsthand. If you want to fix things, you need to be in the trenches. Plane leaves in an hour." Miguel blinked. "Wait, you're sending me alone?" Bezos smirked. "You wanted more, right? Here's your chance." Miguel felt the weight of it. This wasn't just another test. This was a moment that could define his future. "Now, let's turn it to you. If you were given the chance to take full responsibility for a high-stakes problem, would you take it? Or would the pressure be too much?" Drop your answer in the comments. And stay tuned, because what happens next? It's a game changer. Miguel stepped off the plane in Texas, the heat slamming into him. No team, no guidebook, just Bezos' words. Fix it. At the fulfillment center, trucks idled, workers scrambled, and time bled away. The problem wasn't just transport, it was flow. Drivers wasted time loading. Packages weren't prepped. Everything stalled before it even started. Miguel didn't hesitate. "Sort high-demand orders before trucks arrive," he told the manager. "We cut 10 minutes per stop. We clear the backlog." The manager hesitated. Miguel didn't. Within hours, the system changed. By morning, the crisis was over. His phone rang. "Bezos, you did it. What did you learn?" Miguel exhaled. Solutions aren't always complicated, and problems don't get solved from behind a desk. A pause. Then, a chuckle. "You're finally getting it." Miguel flew home, no longer just a janitor. He had earned his place. Now, here's the real question. If you were thrown into a high-stakes challenge, no safety net, would you sink or swim? Drop your answer in the comments. And if you love this story, hit that subscribe button, because this is just the beginning.